Gentlemen, yeah?
I will.
One of the things I think it's important to bear in mind is that as we look at the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, it's not only stimulus. We keep talking stimulus. That's not really the right way to describe what we're doing. It is for long-term investment. It's to deal with an emergency issue, but it's also to invest in the long-term health of our nation. So it's not just stimulus. It's important for the American people to know that. But I do like this chart because a conservative economist named Mark Zandi did it, and he got his computers out and did some readings and figured out what is going to stimulate the economy the most? What's going to give the economy the most punch? And he found that one of the lowest things on his chart was make the income tax cuts expiring in 2010 permanent. That's like 0.9%. That's pretty low, right? But the big ones that he found were things like temporary increase in food stamps. That's 1.73. That's the highest one on here. That's going to jack up and get people, that's going to help and stimulate the economy. Things like extend unemployment compensation benefits, 1.64%. Things you mentioned just a moment ago that we have to stick with the House version and hold it up. And then also down here, increasing infrastructure spending, 1.59. These are things that are really going to stimulate the economy. And I think it's important that we really focus on stimulating the economy. We don't give in to ideological matters, because, let me just tell you, one thing I will say regarding the Obama administration, and I'm a big fan, is that President Obama reached out to the Republican caucus, came to talk to them, tried to work with them, and they completely rebuffed him. And they told him just nothing doing. And here he is reaching across the aisle, trying to move us to his post-partisan place, and not one of them, even though they got their tax cuts, voted for the stimulus package. So in my opinion, I think we should not we should put all the weight on stimulating the economy. We get the economy moving. We prove to the American people that conservatives are bad in economics. They don't understand economics very well. Last time the Republicans were in control, the Republican president, when the Democratic president left office in the year 2000, we had a $288 billion surplus. Didn't take long for the Republican president to mess it all up. And the reason why is that they're bad at economics. They don't understand economics. They think that they like the economics where the rich people get and the poor people don't. They don't quite understand that a rising tide lifts all boats. You have to make sure that everyone is part of the economic life of the country in order to have a strong, robust economy. You can't just have tax cuts to the rich people. By definition, being rich means you don't need the money. You just stick that money in your back pocket. Maybe it can just sit in an account. But when you give monies to the poor, like for things like unemployment insurance, things like food stamps, when you invest in the nation's infrastructure, then you're really building the economy. Then you're really stimulating the economy. In my view, I'll say with all due respect to our president, who I believe is a great leader, that he has tried to work with them, and on the other side of the aisle, they have rejected and rebuffed his overture. So, skip their tax cuts. Let's get to some real stimulative stuff. And if the gentleman yields back, you can bet I'll be right there with you, standing behind our great speaker, Nancy Pelosi, a leader for all of America, a transformative leader, a leader with energy. The fact that she has children the same age as you and I, Congressman, doesn't undermine her energy level. She is energetic, she is powerful, she's visionary, she's progressive. And you and I are here today talking about the Progressive Caucus. We're here talking about a progressive vision for our nation. We're making an obvious observation. In the Progressive Caucus, we say, look, if you don't like government, if you believe government's the problem, as Ronald Reagan famously said, government's the problem, it stands to reason that you might not be good at it. If you think government is not a good idea to begin with, you might not invest the time, energy, and resources necessary to be good at it. And therefore, it should be no surprise to anyone that the Republicans and the conservatives are bad at economics. They're just not good at it. And so it's not surprising to me that they would think that you could increase spending around the war, cut taxes at the same, and then think that things are going to go well economically. They didn't go well economically, and then deregulate everything, and then neglect the infrastructure. Well, we're back to offer a progressive vision, to say to America that it's time to have an inclusive economy, to have civil rights, to have environmental protection, and to make a better way forward for all Americans. This has been Congressman Keith Ellison with the Progressive Caucus with Congressman Johnson. Thank you, sir. Congressman McDermott joined us, and we're very proud to be here representing the Progressive Caucus with the progressive message. And with that, we yield back.